Welcome everyone to another one of our Atlassian Community ANZ There's an App for That series. I was really pleased by the title of this, and it might confuse you and have you turn up expecting some people from a rocket making company to do things. But it's not true, because there is a strong space theme, as you can tell from things we go. So over to you, Bjorn. Who are you, and what have you got an app for that to do around things?
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I'm really impressed from first your outfit and your virtual background. As you can see, I just have a real background. So I'm Björn, based in Berlin, Germany. So I'm super happy to be your guest today. For me, it's 8 a.m. in the morning. Absolutely fine. I think last time, Kit, we tried a couple of times to record a podcast together, and it was for me 7-ish or 6-ish in the morning, and for you late. So it's a much better situation today. I'm a co-CEO at Resolution, and marketplace vendor, exists since 14 years in the marketplace. Relatively famous for user management apps on the server and data center side. And we have tons of other apps on the cloud side. And today we want to talk a little bit about one app and also the whole situation around the app. So Agile Ceremonies for Impact, or as you can see on Kit, the app is called NASA, Not Another Standup App. So NASA, Star Wars, I think that's close enough, Kit. So thanks a lot for this. So let me share a screen. I want to share a couple of slides, not too many, so we're not talking about 200 boring slides. I just want to give you a little bit context before we jump into a live demo. And I want to explain a little bit why we created a meeting app, because so far no meeting app is successful in the marketplace. There are tons of other meeting apps outside in the world, and most of them doing kilometers or miles long transcripts. But we decided we also want to do a meeting app, but we took it a little bit different. And we are also combining it with a training, what we provide at the moment, mainly on YouTube, in some cases also individual, what is called Agile Ceremonies for Impact. So, but what's the reason for that? I mean, at the moment, there are a lot of discussions, is Agile dead? And I mean, we are living in a changing world. We talk about cloud coding or context engineering, how it's called now. So developers getting quicker, teams are getting quicker. They can create tons of additional agents for simple work, for code reviews, or whatever. And overall, I would say it's getting faster and faster. And there's a little bit the question mark, what organizations reflect to me, is Agile still the thing? And I say definitely yes, because what else is there? So you don't want to go back to a traditional project management planning in bigger organizations, but also in smaller organizations. You can't let every developer or product owner simply go on their own pace. So you need to have somehow a framework, a mindset, what the team is sharing. But it definitely needs an adoption of Agile and to be somehow aligned with these fast-paced world nowadays. Quickly reminder for all who are not in the Agile part. So quickly, what are Agile Ceremonies? Agile Ceremonies are a relatively small part, and when you do Agile training, then it's potentially 5 to 10% of the training. Agile Ceremonies are the meetings, the meeting structures, what you should set up in Agile teams when you follow the mindsets, the framework. What I learned and what organizations are reflecting to me, the part is relatively small, but when you fail in this, in most of the cases, your whole Agile structure or idea is also failing. So it means small part in the trainings, high risk for failing. And that's why we said, okay, let's create training to Agile Ceremonies, because we have seen so many boring stand-ups, especially in our own company before we started to change it, that there must be a better way for doing it. And this is the general thing in Agile. Yeah? When you only take one thing out of this call, out of this session in the morning today, then please be open for change. Because this fits at the moment to the time, but this is also the mindset, what is important for running Agile successful. So let's jump a little bit back. So there are people, you can put them somehow in a corner they following exactly this quote here. For every minute spent in organization, an hour is earned. So Benjamin Franklin, good quote. Maybe you find yourself here, maybe not. Because there's also another thing. The first thing what a project or a plan is doing is change. So means you can spend a lot of time on planning, but maybe this time is a little bit lost because the plan is changing or your project is changing. And that's why Agile in general comes in. There's also another quote on this from 1890. So no plan survives the first contact with the enemy. It's a little bit like the plan thing. So why is that the case? And I think that's more the point why Agile exists, to adopt a plan to when the goal is changing, the time frame is changing, and so on, that the team or the organization can adopt and can progress to the new goal or a slightly adjusted goal. But I think there is a really weak point in Agile what teams are doing. And our team is doing it, a lot of other organizations reflected it to us, because we are all forgetting a little bit the super old school project triangle. And the project triangle is always about, a project is like a triangle. You have your scope, you have your costs, you have your time, and also the quality. And the rule is relatively simple. When you change something on one corner, like on the scope, it will have an effect on the other sides as well. So when you change the scope, it potentially increase your time or your costs or deduct the quality. When you add more time, you gain maybe more quality, or you can achieve more stuff in the scope. The funny thing is that in traditional project management like waterfall, this is super important, this triangle. In Agile, not so much. And especially in Agile, a lot of teams ignoring one important aspect, and that's time. Because we are working in, for example, sprints, and sprint is somehow the time what we have to fulfill a specific working package. Some organizations working also with due dates or very, very precise time estimations. But when you talk to developers, you mostly get the answer, it takes how long it takes. And especially in software development, you have very often sentences like the last 20% of the project eating up 80% of the time. And that's true. But we strongly believe that's why we're ignoring a little bit too much time in Agile frameworks, because we are not setting a focus on it. And this makes it hard for teams to also finish something on time. Why is that the reason? It's relatively simple. When I give you 10 tasks on your desk, or I give you 10 tasks, and I just say, please do all this stuff for me. You have no chance to pick the right priority because you don't know what needs to be finished first. Where is somebody waiting for, and so on. So means one part where we strongly believe is we should go a little bit back to the old school traditions in project management, and we should reflect to ourselves what are these important points. So because when we are not doing this, you can end up relatively quickly in the Agile overload. And I think that's also what we discussed in our podcast a little bit. So a lot of organizations were implementing Agile or additional frameworks or strategies like SAFe or Agile at Scale and so on. They try to fix a lot of things, a lot of problems which are coming up. And that's good. Be open for change. Super important is that with all these changes, you also achieve what you want to achieve, an improvement of the process, the situation, or whatever, and you're not ending up in a situation where you are in this Agile overload. And in some cases, I saw 2-3 organizations, they had huge Agile departments. The departments were responsible for rolling out all the Agile strategies and processes, etc. And it felt a little bit like that the Agile department is organizing all the stuff so complex that the Agile department exists, and there's a reason for the department, and that shouldn't be the case. So what are now clear signs for agile overload? I mean, when you have crazy roles or titles like Master of Scrum Masters or Chief Agile Officer and so on, that's in some cases a sign, oh, maybe we have a little bit of agile overload. I want to focus, or with NASA, we focus on this point here, the ceremonies. So when the ceremonies feels like boring, and that was the case in our in resolution 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So when I asked my team, do you think stand-up meetings or our dailies are important? They said, no, there's stealing time. They are way too long. They are 45 minutes too long. It's a monologue of Björn, who is talking to maybe one person or two person, and the rest is checking Slack messages and emails. And when you see in videos that this happens in the videos of your video meeting, that people doing other things, that's a clear sign your ceremony is not working. There are other signs like the too much bureaucracy. This can be, please set up a start date, a due date. You need to lock your time, think about the story points, all the components and so on. In some cases, this is important. When you work on huge projects, you need all the stuff. But in some cases, especially in smaller project teams, a lot of these things are not so super important. And this is definitely something what should be reflected, not from time to time, it should be reflected in real time. And as soon you see, there is not really a value in it, it should be changed. So what are the common pitfalls and anti-patterns? So one we picked, or some we picked already a little bit. So the ceremonies are not really helpful. They are stealing time. They are not adding value to the day-to-day work of your team. So that's definitely an important thing what should be fixed. Another point is one ceremony is the retro meeting. And what a lot of organizations doing wrong is they try to save time when they put the sprint review, where you should review your product or your results, together with the retro meeting, because they think, hey, both are review meetings, so let's put it together. We made the same mistake. And this is a huge mistake, because it is not possible for your team to make a good difference or differentiation in a meeting talking about what they achieved and how they achieved it. And simple, when you split this, you get an amazing feedback loop in the retro meeting when you just focus on how we achieved something. And this allows you to take a lot of interesting points which can be implemented to improve your process. Story points, I'm a strong believer in story points. When you ask some people in my team, they are not such a strong believer. There are also t-shirt sizes and so on, but yes, you can also play too hard with a story point. So be careful a little bit with that. But I strongly believe estimation is important, because when I ask some of my developers, they say, like I said in the beginning, it takes what it takes. But that's not good, because I should estimate how difficult something is to learn, if I'm good in it or if I should improve, or my estimation is not right. So means it's not so much for me to be on time with the project delivery. For me, it's more important the estimation stuff, that people learn when I think this will take a week, and they finish it after a month, that they can see, hey, here was something wrong. Let's check again what was the problem and how can we fix it. And then in some organizations, you have also then clear an anti-pattern like the Agile Theater. That's an interesting one. A relatively easy sign for that is when you have all your Agile stuff, but from an employee perspective, you just do a yearly review with your employee, with your team. So in Agile teams, you should review the performance, the classic performance review. You should do it after every sprint. For this is a retro or a smaller one-to-ones, because people can improve and need feedback much faster and in smaller cycles. So how can you now when you identify, okay, I have maybe some of these pitfalls already or signs, how can I get out of this cycle? And it's relatively simple. First of all, keep it simple. So go back to the original Scrum guide, which was 13 pages, and try to get the sense and the value out of this. When your Agile guides or your processes over 800 pages, then it's way too long. Focus, second point, focus on the feedback loops. They are super important. So in most cases, your team is right. Not in all cases, but in most cases. Oh, and this should be, wait a moment, I have a small technical issue here. Can you still see my presentation? Hello? Yeah, hopefully yes. So, okay. Kit, can you still hear me? Perfect. So, focus on the feedback loops. As I said, also empower your teams with the proper ceremonies and with an open, relatively open style that they can give open feedback and so on. You have already 50-60% of your of your stuff what you need to improve. And also look on redundant processes. It can happen relatively quickly that you have a review meeting of a review meeting because you have different stakeholders. Not every stakeholder can join the review meeting, for example. So and that's what we had also in the past. We had our development review meeting, and 2 days later, we had an all-company review meeting where other stakeholders joined. So at some point, one teammate from me simply said, can we just merge these two review meetings because it would save a lot of time? Yeah, yes, it makes maybe the other meeting a little bit longer because we have more stakeholders, but it will save a lot of time and they don't need to demo this stuff 2 times and so on. So classic descaling strategies, there are a lot more. If you want to check out the training on YouTube, it's a 4-hour training about how to run every ceremony effectively. Also with information how to run it in Jira, how to run it in Confluence, but also in NASA, and I will show it to you in a second. But there's always a but. So, and be careful with this, and I hope you can hear the sound now, because that's an amazing example how you can also give a little bit too much freedom.
As you all know, over the past few months, I have been rebuilding the game engine and reworking it from scratch.
I did not know that. That sounds expensive.
Yes, very much so.
Go on.
So I saw some comments from the player base that they're dissatisfied with the level of skin textures in the game.
Really? Like, I haven't seen these comments.
Yes, it was a comment on a YouTube thread.
A single comment?
Yes. So I got to work designing, researching, and reimagining, and I think I've found a solution.
Okay.
Holy shit. That looks so photorealistic.
Who the f is that?
Oh, it's just a random NPC from Hollywood.
Okay.
So my original goal was realistic skin textures, but to do that, I had to work out skin cells. But for skin cells, I had to work out all cells. So I got into atoms, electrons, protons. I even got into the quantum realm and figured out quarks. I was going to get into string theory, but I thought that might just be a little bit too much.
Oh, you think this might be a little bit too much, Delvin?
Yeah, but it did allow me to work on mitochondria, and as we know, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, and we don't want powerless cells, because what are we making? Dead cells? What are we making? Dead cells? Dead Cells is a game made by...
Delvin, move the f*** on!
Yeah, okay. So after all of this work into making skin cells, I thought I may as well replicate all of the other cells in the human body. Oh, and I worked out nuclear fusion. So the sun is now real and emitting real light rays. I had to move it very far away, though, so the world map is incredibly large now. Oh, and now the light causes plants to photosynthesize. oh, and now the light causes plants to photosynthesize, and animals now eat the plants, and then the NPCs eat the animals, and they have full biological working systems within them. So it has led to increased realism in not only skin textures, but in, well, everything. Yeah, so that is what I have been working on.
Okay. Can we see it in action?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, nice screenshot, but
What? No, just there it is.
Is that another screenshot?
No, this is on live servers. I will admit that there is some optimization issues, but it's going on.
oh, I'm not surprised you're having optimization issues, Delvin. It sounds to me like you're simulating life itself.
Speaking of which, another emergent byproduct of all of this work is some of the NPCs are now sentient. So,
Delvin, what the fuck?
So a classic situation of, that was a little bit too much. I mean, interesting review meeting, and definitely nice result from the developer. But this is a classic example of, oh, this escalated quickly. And this happens, hopefully, not so much and not in this size, but this happens on organizations every day. And this is what you can tackle with good ceremonies, because your ceremonies are your frame around the agile work of your team. And that's why the ceremonies are so important, and they are important for the reflection stuff, but also planning stuff and so on. So if you want to take this, I will share QR codes later to the training and also to the NASA app. But now let's talk about the app. So that was the context. Now the app. So NASA, Not Another Standup App, developed 2 years ago for ourselves. We joined a 4-day week at this time, and we said all our meetings need to be improved. They are way too long. They are not adding value to our team. So let's review this stuff. And we started with stand-up meetings, but today I want to show you a little bit another example, but it follows the same logic. And the logic is relatively simple. We identified over 24 problems in meetings. So for example, I don't explain all the problems, but I just gave one or two. People joining unprepared. Joining unprepared means they need to think about what they want to share or what they want to answer in the meeting. They definitely will forget stuff. This will lead to other meetings or other Teams and Slack conversations. Another common mistake is your bosses joining to stand up, for example. This changed completely the harmony of the meeting. So people start, instead of sharing what was good and what hasn't worked out, instead of sharing this, they going into a reporting mode and they start reporting to the boss. So there are a lot more of these problems. So we tackle these problems with the NASA app in 3 phases. So phase 1 is a daily journal, and that's now for the stand-up. It's simple, translates to prepare every meeting. So it means when a teammate wants to join another meeting, they need to have a preparation. If not, everybody can see that they are unprepared. It also helps a lot. It helps a developer, for example, to structure their update, that they don't forget stuff and so on. But it has also a huge effect, because when you just hear stuff via audio, you are just getting 20%. You just have the chance to understand 20% when I just would talk and you don't see a screen. But that's why we have slides and all the stuff and screen shares, because when you get visuals in addition to the audio, this increases up to 70%. So preparation is important. It flows then to show the interesting work. So that's a live meeting part of the app. Means we are taking all the preparations, we are sharing it in one screen. People can interact with each other. They see the stuff and they can add additional stuff to it. And the third part is finding all the meeting documentations and so on. So we all know that nowadays we have more note takers in a meeting as real people. To be honest, not so many people reading this stuff. Also, the classic recording of meetings, I would say less than 10% are really watching the recording. So we thought it needs a much easier way and simpler way to have a meeting documentation. It needs to be more on point, bullet pointish, and it should be easy to find. So let me simply show you how it looks like in a live demo. I need to quickly change the share here that you can see the whole screen. So, and here we go. So we need to, we have 2 users now because it's a meeting app. We need always 2 users. Minimum for meetings alone makes no sense. So what we have here is our second user. I will not use them so many. We use my user here. And my task is now a classic meeting preparation. So the app is in Jira, as you can see. It's fully integrated in Jira. It can also integrate Confluence. So the situation is now, this is a planning meeting, relatively simple one. We have only 2 agenda points. The first one is review the product backlog, and the second one is estimation and assign the responsibilities. So I'm now in the preparation mode. So that's for myself. And I simply want to add, for example, this item here, this work item, to the backlog review, because I think we should discuss it. And I can add now additional context to this item, like this is really needed. If I want, I can also comment this, or can put this comment direct on the work item. The interesting point here is, in the preparation, we allow the users to maintain their Jira work items in parallel. So when they forgot to change the status, for example, they can direct do it here. When they want to add a comment, they can direct do it here. So, but I also prepare my meeting. In this case, a planning meeting. It also works with a daily. In a daily meeting, we have templates for that. It works a little bit different, but the logic is the same. So I can add now the stuff. I can structure it. I can add text items. When, for example, I want to say we should have a design meeting, can add these additional text items. This can have more comments like, Steffi, you should join. So you're getting the idea. I'm writing down what I have in my mind in the preparation of the meeting. This makes clear that I don't forget something, but at the same time, I prepare proper visuals, and every person in the meeting have similar visuals. So second point, we should estimate a little bit stuff. You can see here, I have a Scrum Master view. So here are all issues included what the Scrum Master defines. So it could be on a priority, it could be on a JQL filter. There are tons of options for this. But I can also have my own view, my personal view, and I can set up to 5 filters with additional work item blocks. And for estimation, I simply pick, let's take this one here and this one here. I want to estimate them as well. As you can see, you have a couple of more informations here. You see here these small fields. These are context fields, and they can be also defined from the Scrum Master. When the Scrum Master thinks for this meeting, it's important to see the fixed version always on the item, they can do it. We have also story points here, or here in this case, a team, because it's an epic. Let's choose another one. Here, for example, I have the story point. So as a Scrum Master, I can define it per work item type, per meeting, what additional informations are important for my team. And now remember back to what I said in the beginning, that teammates giving feedback, the meeting is not important for me because there's not really happening stuff what is interesting for me or helps me with my work. When you have all the needed information in one screen, it's automatically more helpful instead of scrolling to a backlog with a lot of issues, and you try always to find the 2 important one what you want to discuss. So what we drive here is focus, and focus helps to make your ceremony important. Okay, let's assume my preparation is done. I can also share my mood, and when the preparation is done here, I join the meeting. And now the second phase of the meeting starts. let me simply kick our second user in the meeting. So what you can see here, so my user, there's Andy Admin, is a Scrum Master. I can see here that for the meeting, 5 people should join. Today we are only 2. It's a classic vacation season in Europe at the moment. So it's only a meeting of 2 and the meeting starts. And what you can see here, the screen from this user also changed automatically. From now on in the live meeting, the screens of every meeting attendee participant is the same. It's now a collaboration tool, so they can add additional comments here, they can create new items, they can create new work items, they can interact with each other. I have now the structure of that. I could go through these points, I could discuss it. I clearly see who has added what, so it means I could start here. Andy, I want to discuss this, blah, 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 discussion, decision, document the decision with, yes, we should do it because blah, blah, blah. You're getting the idea. So what we are doing now, because we said, okay, this should really happen, I can simply say, okay, also story points are missing here, so let's estimate it. I put it to the estimation agenda point in addition. So also user said, okay, deploy to production. Should we deploy the first version? I think it's not a good idea. No, not yet. But we should prepare the documentation. That's a good idea. Also here, the estimation is missing. We also put this to our estimation agenda point. So what we can see now in the second agenda point, we have classic timer, we have an overall meeting timer, timer per agenda point. This all can be defined, classic meeting tools here. But what I want to do now is, because a lot of organizations reflected to us, hey, we are doing planning poker and estimation meetings and so on. And that would be good to have this integrated in a planning meeting, because at the moment we are structured in a planning meeting, we decide what we want to do. And maybe we have the estimation before, but reality is in a lot of cases, we don't have the estimation before. So how can we combine this? And then we said, okay, let's integrate planning poker. And what we simply did is we put an planning poker module in addition to it. So the Scrum Master can start here planning poker based on story points. As you can see, just let you see that it happens also on the other screens. It's started on the other screen. So user think it's a relatively easy one. So I have an indicator that's already selected, and I go with an 8. So normally I have here the summary, and in most cases, hopefully also a description. I can decide here if I want to have the individual estimation also as a comment on the work item. And I simply say, yes, done. And the estimation results are now here. And now I have the classic situation like in planning poker when I want to follow the Fibonacci sequence, that I have an average value. So it means I need to decide now, is it a 5 or 8? So let's trust Yuzi here. And that wasn't my story point field. So now I can open the issue here and I could search for story points and can add it. That's a small mistake here. That was an epic. So normally you don't estimate epics. So same here. Just do it quickly again. Window is again open. Done. I get the estimations. And now I can add the story points because that's a proper work item. And I can say, okay, we trust Yuzi here and go for the 5. Done. So it's all stored in the work items. Planning poker is done in the planning meeting. And now I can also, because the agenda point says assign responsibilities. So let's say configure SL certificate should user do. And then the issue is in the meeting documentation on user, but we are not changing here automatically the assignee because it has maybe other implications and so on. But that's how you can run the meeting. When you stop the meeting, the phase number 3 is starting. We are creating the team journal. And the team journal is stored per meeting stream. So the setup in NASA works meeting streams like a series in Outlook or Google. And we are storing the last 30 team journals. And it's easy to find for team members when they haven't had the possibility to join or whatever. So a team journal looks like this. We have some statistics on the top. I haven't showed you the follow-up items. You can also flag items for follow-up, and that would be displayed here. But then I have here, again, a relatively easy overview. I can check the team journals from other dates, for example. I can export it to Confluence. I can also set up an automatic export to Confluence. So a lot of options here. An interesting feature, what will come next week, is post-meeting automations. So you have seen that I moved one item from ND admin to use user. And I have the classic situation then that the assignee is not right. So what you can do in the future is, and I have it already here, you can set up automations per meeting agenda type, per work item, what you want to do after the meeting with these work items. For example, you want to make sure that the assignee is the same like in the meeting decisions. Or all the comments what I used to comment on work items are really on the Jira issues. Or like in a review meeting, all the comments or text items which are created, which are normally feedback in a review meeting, are automatically created to bug tickets in the right project and assigned to the right person. So it means you can set up here a lot of automations. You simply define on which agenda point you want to trigger the automation. Is it for a work item or text item? Then you give some details to for automation for Jira to it, and you simply press it, and then we trigger automation for Jira, and your action points are set up there. So that's NASA. As you can see, it has a lot of features. There's way more to show. A good starting point when you want to play with that is really using here the templates to set up a meeting stream, playing a little bit around with that. Our experience is that team need a couple of days to start the adoption, but then the effect is amazing. So it's not an easy peasy install and everybody will love it on day one, but definitely when you use it for stand-ups, for example, they will love it after 3-4 days. So that was the live demo. Back to the last slide. Check if I have it here still open. So here we go. So first of all, thank you very much for having me. The first QR code, maybe take just a screenshot of it. The first QR code is a white paper what we created about the stand-up dilemma. I mentioned these 23 problems in meetings. Amazing white paper which shows the long-term effects on teams when you do your stand-ups wrong. Agile Ceremonies for Impact, that's the whole for our training for free. Check it out with a lot of live demos, also a lot of live demos of the NASA app, but also how you run it in Jira. And last but not least, NASA Not Another Standup App. Give it a try. And when you have questions, feel free to contact me.
Awesome. Thank you, Björn. We actually had one question in the chat that I answered a little bit based on what I know, but love your insight. So Ali asked, how is the app incorporating today's AI technology? I always think asking about AI is a dangerous question, but like my immediate answer was that you're creating and using Jira items, so fundamentally that's all indexed by Robo. But both, am I correct? And is there anything else that you think is worth highlighting for the AI fans?
Yeah, it's a good point. So we have 2 Robo functionalities or 2 Robo agents in the NASA app. So when you install the app, you get 2 additional Robo agents. One agent is to summarizing multiple team journals. So situation is classic. You were a week on vacation and you do your dailies normally with that. So now you can read every daily journal if you want to be up to date, or you can just get a Robo agent summarize all meetings of the last week to me, and that goes through all meeting streams. A second one goes in a similar direction. Here you can simply ask what I have missed, and we show all the stuff what happened on your work items, where you are a watcher, assignee, reporter, you commented, and so on, what you haven't seen yet. So it is another robo agent, but it's not so much about what happened in the meeting. That's really more about what you have missed when you want to prepare something like a planning meeting, etc. So that's the AI stuff, what is integrated already. With this post-automation feature, you can do a lot more stuff. Because when you have robo and automation for Jira, you can create actions like take these 5 comments of the text item of the last meeting and create a proper Confluence page out of it. So there are tons of ways to using the Atlassian AI in it. Our vision is that we implement AI also in the meeting type, a little bit different like the classic transcript stuff. So what I want to achieve is that all the shared audio stuff, which is not in the visuals, is aligned to the visuals. That's a little bit the vision. That will take a couple of months more. We are playing around with that, but this hopefully will come soon. Yeah, and there's another question in chat. Yeah, NASA is a plugin. So it's an app in the marketplace available in Jira. So just check out the marketplace. Then you will find it. There are not so many apps with the name NASA.
Someone will probably ask how much is it next, and the answer is you can see it transparently on the marketplace article. So that one always comes up with things as well.
I mean, my answer is always it's way too cheap.
That's normally what my wife says when I say like how much I get something. Okay. Awesome. I think that takes us to the end of our time box. So thank you to everyone for all your questions, especially, and thank you to Björn for presenting with things. I found that very amusing. I've also learned that this is terrible for looking at screens with, so that's my big learning for the thing too. So thanks so much. We'll post the recording to our YouTube channel, so please like, share, comment the recording afterwards as well. There's been a load of links in the chat that I'll try and extract as well, and Björn and I will post some things on the YouTube channel too. And if you really loved hearing from some mix of Björn and I, you can listen to the podcast where we spoke about toilets and Lego bricks and all sorts of things as well. So that's it for that too. If you have to leave now, thank you so much. If you want to hang around and ask me more questions, we'll try and hang on a little bit, but we respect everyone's time. And I see already we've got the drop off to the numbers.